What's going on, guys? So after having my Turbo X for probably about a month and having driven it for over 1,000 miles, I've kind of come up with a short list of things that I don't like about it. Now, when I say the word, these are X amount of things that I hate about the car, I wouldn't necessarily say that I hate, because this car is amazing. This is the best car I've ever owned. This is my dream Saab. I absolutely love this car to death, but of course, no car is perfect, so there are still a couple things that I wish were a little bit better about it. So please take everything that I say in this video with a grain of salt and understand that, I love this car to death and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Before I get into the video too far, I do want to mention that if you are attending Saab Owners Convention coming up August 9th to 12th in Solomons, Maryland, if you are going to be there and you do want to have your car featured on the channel, please DM me on Instagram or email me so that way we can set something up. I already have a couple people that have messaged me and I'm very excited to show you guys what I have planned. So the first thing about this car that I don't really like is the cross-wheel drive service that's needed and just maintenance in general. Now, any normal car, of course, you need your normal maintenance like oil changes and stuff like that. But with this car, because of the cross-wheel drive system, you have to service that. I've heard so many different variations on how often you should do it, but I've been told to do it basically every other oil change, and I need to probably do it soon, so there will be a video on that eventually. But it's just an extra added cost that I wish wasn't really necessary. Now, interestingly enough, when Saab actually first came out with their cross-wheel drive system with Haldex, they said that it would last for life and you would never need to service it. They quickly ended up changing that slogan, or whatever you want to call it, and basically said, yeah, you need to service it every X amount of miles. And of course, as you get more mileage on the car and whatnot, you should probably just be doing it more often. Now, of course, with this being a Turbo X, anything that breaks on it, it's pretty expensive. Now, probably not as expensive as a new generation 9.5, but some of the parts for it, I was looking, are pretty dang expensive. So with that being said, this is definitely a much more expensive car to own than my standard 9.3 ARC that I have, or just your standard Saab in general. So keep that in mind if you are thinking about purchasing one of these. So the next thing that I don't like a whole lot about this car are the seats. Now, of course, the seats are great. I love them. But I do think that they should be better. Now, in our 9.5 Aero that we have, the seats in that, they just hug you so much better, and they feel like they've got more, like they're just meatier and they have more bolsters on the side. I don't know how to really explain that any better, but they hold you in place better. On this, maybe it's just because of the mileage again, but these, they're kind of sagging. Of course that's because of mileage, but they don't seem to hold you in place as well as you would like for what this car is and the seats that it has. They aren't sporty enough, in my opinion, and I really wish that Saab would have maybe not necessarily put Turbo X specific seats in the car, but at least maybe gone another step or two to just make the seats a bit sportier and to make them hold you in place better when you're cornering fast, or just that way you feel like you're held in place. So the next thing that I hate about this car, and I have mentioned this before, I don't think the car is going to do it right now, but that is the shifter sticking. Now, honestly, I have already heard a couple other people complain about this, and it's not doing it right now, but the shifter sometimes will stick. And what I mean by that is when you are I'm in first gear, right? Going down the second, and I go up into third. So right now, you see when I go back up into neutral, it pops back into the middle. But sometimes it'll stick over here to the side. Or when you're in fifth or sixth and you want to go back into neutral, it sticks over here to this side and it doesn't come the whole way back to the middle. Now, I've been told there's a few different reasons that could potentially cause this, something with bushings or whatnot, and from what I hear, it's quite a lot of work to fix. Now, of course, I wish it would never stick, but at least be consistent, you know. If it's gonna stick all the time at least. So it's just kind of annoying, especially when you're shifting in the third. Sometimes you almost miss the gate for third because I don't know, I'm coming up. If I come up normally, it's already popped back in the middle and I can just go straight up. But if it's sticking to the side, then I've got to go over a little bit and then up into third. So I'm sure that you guys that have experienced this in a Turbo X or in an Aero that have seen this shifter sticking to one side or the other, and it's not like it's stuck and you can't get it back into the true neutral middle position or whatever you want to call it. It just takes a little push back, but you know, it's just, again, it's just one of those little annoying things that kind of bothers me from time to time. So the fourth thing that I despise about this car, and this isn't the car's fault, I knew this going in, it's just something that I just don't like about it, and that is first off the MPG, and second off the gas tank. Now I have heard that in a Turbo X, you are lucky to get 300 miles on a tank. Now, when I first bought this car, I did pretty much all city driving. I didn't do a whole lot of highway driving with it, but recently, the past week and a half or so, I've been driving it a lot more on the highway in certain scenarios where it gets higher MPG. My MPG has gone up to about just under 20, so that is much of an improvement from 18 or so like I was averaging when I was doing my city driving. But again, only 20 MPG, and when I fill this thing up, it's maybe 14 gallons, if that. So I'm not getting anywhere close to 300 miles on a tank yet. I mean, I'm sure once it cools down, I don't need the AC, or if I take it on a road trip, of course, I'd get 300 miles. I don't know. I just wish that I could get more out of one tank of gas on this car. It's just a little thing that bothers me that I have to fill up a bit more often. So the fifth thing that I dislike about this car, and we're going back into the interior again, as you can tell, a lot of these problems are interior related, and that is the plastic. Now, I did a video on my other 9.3 talking about a few things I hated, and I covered this in that video. But for this, when they updated the 9.3 interior in 2007, I do think that they did a bit better job including some better plastic, because as you can see, none of these buttons here are peeling. Now, if you look over here on the window switches, those are peeling a little bit, but outside of that, the plastic has held up very well. Now, if they've been replaced or not, I don't know. And like I've mentioned before, with stuff like these buttons, they just feel so much nicer to turn and adjust as opposed to the pre-2007 9.3s. But still, it's just a lot of plastic. And you know, you grab stuff like the door handles and you can hear that it's just the cheap plastic noise. I can't stand it for what this car is. I mean, I feel like it should just be better, and you can get leather door handles from, I think it might be Hirsch and stuff like that. Now, the last thing that I dislike about this car, and that this is a questionable one. This is one I thought about not including, but I wish that the car looked a bit more special on the interior. Now, let me explain. Now, on the Turbo X, if you have not seen my video where I talk about what makes the Turbo X so unique and special, you can go ahead and check that out up here in this corner. But outside of things like the turbo gauge and the carbon fiber, which there isn't a whole lot of, I mean, there's not very much that separates the Turbo X from other 9.3s. Now, the only carbon fiber that you have is right here on all four of the doors, right there, and then right down here by the center console. I wish they would have included more in one way or another, not necessarily doing the whole dash in carbon fiber, which of course another kit that you can get for the car, or maybe they at least added a Turbo X badge somewhere and said like 1 of 2,000. You know, I just think that would be really cool. That, you know, if Saab would have taken a couple more steps to maybe make the interior more unique, and like I talked about earlier with the seats, maybe making Turbo X specific seats. I don't know. I mean, maybe you guys can see where I'm coming from with this, but I just feel like maybe it should be a little bit more special for what this car is. Well guys, with that being said, that's gonna wrap up this video. Now, I have been getting a lot of comments about, you need to do a detail on this car, give it a coat of wax, restore the headlights, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I do wanna do that in the near future, but I'm going to see if I can get a buddy or two of mine that are good with detailing and see if they wanna do a collaboration. Maybe they can help me out. So I'll be contacting them, seeing if we can set something up. But yeah, I know, the headlights are not in perfect shape. They could definitely use a bit of touch up, and the paint is in nice shape, but it could be in much better shape. So look for that hopefully within the next few weeks. I have SOC coming up, so probably won't get done before that. But with that being said, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. If you do like the Turbo X, I do not hate this car. I absolutely love this car. These are just a handful of things that I wish were a little bit better or different about it. So with that being said, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.